Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Hunting with Ike's Outdoors. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you a couple of doe harvests. Now, these doe harvests are a little bit special, I guess. They're a little bit different than a normal just go out in the woods and shoot a doe kind of thing. And they're different because these are on new properties. These are on properties that I actually picked up as season was already open. I picked both of these up actually in October, and season here in Missouri opens in September. So I had zero time to scout these properties and was able to go in there on my first trip into each property after doing a very minimal amount of scouting, and was able to actually harvest one of these does. So it was a really good hunt. It was a really challenging hunt to get in there and be able to find the right position the first time without any scouting, and it made it a lot more fun, and it made it a lot more of a thrill to be able to go in there and do something and be successful on your first attempt. Here we are in day 2 in the new property, and things have gone terrible. I'm in my climber for the first time in years. I forgot my limb saw. I had to use my knife to hack limbs off. I'm hot, I'm sweating. My flashlight's on the ground. My bow holder that I've got installed on this thing is in the way of the seat, so I can't get the damn seat to sit out right. I'm sitting on just a wadded up mess. Sun's already coming up. I've been here for an hour, and I'm just now getting settled. So, sun's already coming up. I gotta get my release on, get my arrow on, and get ready to go. I have no idea if I'm in a good spot or not. You hear the cars going by. Highway 43's right behind me. I got a trail camera down here that's got 18 pictures on it in about 48 hours, but I didn't bring my card reader, my viewer, so I can't tell what's on there. So far as bad days go, this one's starting out like it's gonna be one. Well, I just had 6 does come in on me, maybe 8. Looked like 3 mature does, and then some yearlings. That's the problem with hunting a place like this for the first time. I thought I knew where they were gonna come from, and they did, kinda. But instead of coming over here by where I'm at, I really needed to be about 20 yards over in that direction. They were about 40 yards. And then, if you can tell, the sun's behind me. It's morning. That's the east. They were that direction. They were west of me. The sun's behind me, and they silhouetted me. This doe come in. I thought she was going to give me an opportunity. She was about 35 yards, and she spotted me. She just spotted me, but luckily for me, they didn't blow. They didn't flag. They didn't run off. They actually turned around and just trotted over on the other side of this little thicket here behind me and stopped there, and I watched them there for 5 or 10 minutes before they headed back. But, you know, I'm learning as I go now. I watched those does this morning coming this way, headed toward bed. Yesterday I was on the other side of the property and I watched a doe over there head toward bed. So they've got a bedding area in here in this middle somewhere. So I need to kind of stay out of there, but I know I'm on the right track. I'm close. I just got to figure out how to close that distance. So, you know, now I know these does are running this ridge. I know about where they're at. And next time I come in here, I'll set up differently and hopefully get one in. But that's the problem with hunting a new place like this for the first time. I just shot a doe, maybe a yearling, one of those ones that came back, or that was over there, came back. She was right down here in front of me, I mean right under my tree, and she started acting a fool, and so I put an arrow in her. I may have to shoot her again. I see her over there. She dropped. I made a good shot, I thought, but she dropped. She went crashing, just running into stuff, and she's down over there. But every now and then I see her. Looks like she is moving. So I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get down, if I can, with this climber, not scare her. Try to get myself in a position where I can shoot her again, because she's, and I don't know, it may not be her, it may be leaves. But I'm gonna be real careful about walking up on her, because I have no idea where I hit her. She was behind a bunch of brush at 30 yards, and I let go a little bit quicker than what I thought what I wanted to. But it just looks like something's moving over there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get down, and if I can, I'm gonna stick another arrow in her if I can get on a shot, because I don't know that if she's dead or not. But I'm gonna be real careful about this and real slow.
Well, that was one of the luckiest shots I've ever made. This deer's covered in blood, and so am I. This is the advantage of shooting heavy arrows, is the momentum. For a guy like me who doesn't make good shots all the time, this deer she spooked, and she turned away from me, and there was a branch there, and I had just a shot on her that was, I probably shouldn't have taken, but you know, you're in a heated moment, took the shot. She was angling away from me, and I actually hit her behind the ribs over here. Pretty good shot, you know, as far as that goes, but I hit her behind the ribs, and the momentum of that arrow actually carried it all the way through her body, and it came out her neck right here. And she had her head down, and the arrow went through and actually cut her right beside the head too. She had her head down like that, and when the arrow came out, it actually cut her right on the side of the head there too. So this is the second deer, and she is just bloody as can be. This is the second deer that I've shot with this setup. I'm shooting a Prime Rival, I'm shooting an SD Hunter by Deer Crossing, and I'm shooting a two-blade Havoc by G5. This arrow went all the way through, came out of her neck, and this deer literally went about 25 yards and laid down. I watched her fall. I thought she was still alive because I kept seeing something move, but I guess it was just shadows. But another thing, that key factor that came into this thing, into this hunt, was scent. I used not only scent control, but I also covered up with some of the 30-06 Acorn scent and some of their dirt scent, and that was a big factor, because when they were on that side of me, they silhouetted me and they knew something wasn't right, but they didn't know what I was, and they actually came back around and came to this side and gave me an opportunity for a shot. So scent control was a big factor in this thing. Like always, been a nice day. It's about 45 degrees out here. Bigger deer than what I thought she was. I thought it was a yearling. Looks like she's about 1.5 years old. Good deer, good hunt. You know, on a property that's new, I've got 2 does in the freezer now this year, and that's it. This is all I'm going to do as far as does go till after the rut. I may put another couple in the freezer at the end of the year, but this is it for doe harvest for me. New property is always a challenge, and I wanted to harvest something off of this property, and having this set up and having everything go right was awesome for me. Everything went wrong this morning. I dropped my flashlight when I was climbing. I got my seat messed up. I put my bow holder in the wrong spot. My seat, I couldn't get the seat to set right. I couldn't get comfortable. I ended up standing pretty much the whole time. I got here late, and I thought I was in the wrong tree, but it turned out to be the right tree. So just because things are going against you doesn't mean it's time to go to the house, you know. things went bad on this hunt, and I ended up harvesting a great animal and ended up gonna put some meat in the freezer. So really appreciate you guys watching this. Everything worked out great. Equipment couldn't ask better, considering, you know, a screw up like me can make a shot like that and put it all the way through the body of a deer. Of course, this deer being smaller didn't hurt my chances any, but great hunt, and I am just ecstatic to have this deer. So this week's tip section is brought to you by 30-06 Outdoors. The tip that I have for you guys this week is to continue to shoot during season. I know a lot of guys who shoot all the way up till the beginning of season, and then once season opens up, they actually stop. There are a couple of advantages to shooting during season. One, it keeps you accurate, which is very important, and two, it keeps your muscles in shape. As the season goes on and progresses, it's going to get colder and colder and colder, and you're going to continue to add layers of clothes. It's going to make it hard for you to pull your bow back. So it's very important for you to get out, shoot 10 to 15 arrows each week, keep your muscles in shape, and keep your accuracy in shape. The other thing that I like to do is I like to carry a target with me and actually shoot a couple of arrows before I head to the woods. I have a Hips herd bull that's nice, small, compact. I throw it in the back of the truck. I take a practice arrow with me and a practice head. And when I get there, I set my target up there at 20 yards and I actually shoot just 2 or 3 arrows. Gives me confidence that I'm shooting good, and it also helps me get my muscles limbered up and get ready for the hunt, because the first shot is usually the only shot you get, and it's the most important. So it's nice to be ready for that shot. So continue to shoot during season, and if you got an opportunity, take an arrow with you, take a target with you, and shoot a couple before you head to the woods. If not, when you're at home before you head to the tree stand, shoot a couple there. Always make sure you're as accurate as you can be, and always make sure that you get that deer with the cleanest, most ethical kill that you can. Alright, so that was a fun hunt. Those does actually busted me, and that shows you that you should never give up. Yeah, you should never stop trying. And one of the kind of tips that I have when it comes to this is, you'll notice when the deer busted and turned away, I actually went ahead and drew my bow. And because most of the time when they're that close to you, they don't know what's going on, and they don't really know what scared them. They just know something was wrong. And she went out 25 yards, turned away from me, and actually presented me with a shot. And you're going to see in this next clip that this deer actually does something very similar.
Hey guys, first off, yes, I broke my tooth the other day at work, so I got a missing tooth. Dentist next week. So you're gonna have to ignore that. But what I'm doing today is I'm hunting a new property again for the first time. I've got 2 new properties this year. This one's right on the Oklahoma-Missouri line, and this is the first time I've been on it hunting. I have been on it 2 times before. One time in here scouting, and one time in here just checking trail cameras. And so I really don't know a whole lot about this property, but I know it's a good property. It's got a lot of deer sign. I've got a lot of good pictures of deer. Not a lot of bucks yet. Actually, no bucks, but a lot of does. I have no earthly idea what the hell's going on here. I like to try to sound like a professional hunter and sound like I know what I'm going on, but this is the real world. And unlike those guys who, you know, have the luxury of going to either the properties that have already been scouted for them, or have properties that they own and they've owned for years and they've been hunting and managing, I don't have that luxury. I got permission on this piece the opening weekend of October, so this is the first time I've been able to get on it now. It's October 18th, something like that. So I know there's a lot of deer in here, as far as good deer. 2 people that I know that really know deer have said that they've seen awesome bucks in here. So there's a potential for a really good buck to be in this place. A lot of does. I've got a lot of pictures of does, and the landowner wants me to take out some does. So that is the first priority. You know, do what the landowner asked me to do. Get some does taken out of here. Hopefully a big buck, but does is my priority right at the moment. So I set up in here. This is a big oak stand. You can see the tree I'm in is a big pin oak. Got oaks all in front of me. Got his fence right here. I'm in his back corner with the wind in my face. And got a gate over here that the deer have been coming through. What I've done is I've kind of put myself at a disadvantage, but I'm hoping it'll work out for the best. You can see this pine tree here. I've also got I've got a dozen pine trees surrounding me, and I found this is a really, really good tree. It doesn't mean it's the right tree, but it's a really, really good tree. This tree is tucked right back into these pine trees, and I have them all around me, and I've got a good wide shooting lane in front of me. My left and right, though, not so much. I can see through the pine trees. I can kind of see this way through the pine. But there's not going to be no shooting through there, so I gotta have the deer out in front of me. But the reason I've done this, the reason I've chose this place is because it gives me a little bit of better concealment. I'm hoping the deer come out in front of me, but if they don't, I'm hoping this will conceal me a little bit better, and maybe I won't end up scaring a deer. So I set up on a spot in the range this morning, and thought I knew what was going on, and it wasn't, and I ended up scaring 6 deer out of there at different occasions. But tons of deer traveling through there, and I ended up scaring them all. I was out of the tree stand by 8:45 because the wind was just not right for that stand. So hopefully everything works out here. Hopefully this stand will give me at least the chance to see some deer, see where they're coming from, see where they're headed, see what they're doing. Give me an opportunity to develop a game plan, because right now, taking a shot in the dark, that's about all I can do. Well, I don't know if that was good or bad. Just shot that doe. She came in on my left, right behind those pine trees, waiting for her to get out here in the clearing. But instead of her getting out in the clearing, she came right through the pine trees, right to the tree I was in, and was underneath me. And she got right down here underneath me and was headed away from me. So I decided to draw while she's behind a tree, and she saw me. Just the same thing that happened with that doe last week or 2 weeks ago. She saw me and she turned around and she stopped right over here 20 yards away, and she was facing away from me. So I put the arrow in her last rib on her left side, or I put the sight pin on her last pin on her left side, hoping it would come out of her shoulder on the right, and it made a hollow thumping sound like a gut shot. So I was shooting through some brush. I know I hit her, but at this point I don't know where. She went over, I saw her leave out, and she went over about 75 yards and just stood and just stopped there. So I'm gonna give her about 45 minutes. This is the hard part, you know, the waiting. After you make a shot that you don't know if it's good or bad, you don't know if the deer's dead or what's going on, if you gut shot her or what, but it had that hollow thump sound that could have been lung or could have been gut. It scares me right at the moment. I don't know, man, I don't know.
Well, there she is. Good old Missouri oak-fed deer. A little bit small as far as size goes, but she's definitely a mature, well, maybe not mature, she's a couple years old. She had a yearling with her, and the yearling's actually the reason I found her. I could not find blood, and I finally was coming down this hill, and I saw where she went. I thought I seen her lay down. And as I was coming down the hill from my stand, I saw a deer standing up here in this brush pile, and thought it was her. So of course I got down, got an arrow on, and whenever that deer turned and walked away, I saw her over here kick her back leg. So then I knew where she was at then, and I ended up finding the blood trail. I had a good blood trail, just I was too far, about 20 yards the wrong direction. And that's when they take off, man. It's really hard to tell which direction they're going sometimes, and that was the case with her. You know, a little bit of an angle, I started out like this instead of like this, and I got off the blood trail. But I ended up finding her pretty easy. She went about 50 yards. And boys, I'd like to say I made a perfect heart shot on her and all that good stuff like that, and this is my second arrow sticking out of her right here. I'd like to say that was my first arrow, but it's not. That's where I had originally aimed. She was in some brush and she turned away from me, as you could see, and I aimed for up here. I tried to put it in here right behind the last rib. Well, I shot her in the butt. You can see the arrow sticking out there. Shot her in the butt. Luckily, I got a good big cutting diameter arrow. Got a broadhead using those 2-inch Havoc G5s. And the other thing, again, like I talked about in the last doe kill video that I got, I'm shooting a good heavy arrow. That arrow drove all the way up into her. These are 28-inch arrows, and it drove all the way up in here into her except for the last 7 to 8 inches. So it went all the way through those big muscles, all the way through her gut, probably busted her diaphragm and her liver. It's probably sitting right about there, so probably got the back side of her lungs and her liver. So for a marginal shot, I've got the equipment that I need. Granted, I'm not endorsing this shot, and this is a terrible shot, horrible, horrible, horrible shot. But unlike some other pros out there who are going to say, oh, I smoked her and she's down, my deer only went 60 yards. But it was by God's grace that she only went 60 yards. It was just a fluke and just luck. And I set up my bow and I set up my arrows and I set up my broadheads with the situation of the worst case scenario. And this is it. The worst case scenario, the worst shot I make on a deer. I want to get as much penetration as possible and do as much damage as possible. And this is it. Shot her in the butt and made a terrible, terrible shot. And got really lucky and got that artery in there. As I was following the blood trail back after I found her, I went back to get my bag. And as I was following the blood trail back, it was a huge blood trail. She was just bleeding out like crazy. The second shot, she might have already been dead by that point. I'm not sure. But as I was coming down the hill, she was still kicking. It took me a few minutes to close the line. I was about 40 yards away when I seen her, and I closed the distance to about 20 yards and got around some brush and made that second shot on her. I wasn't going to risk it. I didn't want her to get up and run off. I seen the arrow sticking out of the back, and I didn't want her to get up and run off for sure. So, lucky. Got this deer by the grace of God alone. That was it. There's no talent in this. There's no skill in a kill like this. This is one you just go home tonight and you say a prayer of thanks because you got really, really lucky getting it. And I have more than my fair share of luck, thank goodness, when it comes to harvesting whitetail. So, great deer. Like I said, gonna make the landowner happy because got another doe out of here. And first night on this property again. This year I got 3 new property. First day on the one out by Reeds, Missouri, killed a deer. First day out on the range, killed a deer. First day here at the ranch, killed a deer. I mean, couldn't be happier. Just couldn't be happier. So now it's the elusive search for one with bone on top of his head, and gotta get a dang tooth fixed. So gotta get some bone fixed, and then I gotta start looking for some bone. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I appreciate all the support. Okay, so like I said in the video, that was a horrible shot. I mean, absolutely one of the worst shots that I've ever made. I really was embarrassed by that shot, but it ended up proving lethal, so that was the main goal. And that's why I set my bow up and my arrows up and my broadheads up the way I do. It's why I use a heavy arrow, and it's why I use a big cut-on-contact broadhead. That broadhead actually went in far enough to get her diaphragm. Her liver was just absolutely tore up, and it got the back side of both of her lungs. So that deer was not going very far, even though it was a bad shot. My original intention was to get it in behind the rib, but she was just angled toward me a little bit farther than what I thought, or I made a bad shot. I'm not really sure what happened, but the second arrow probably was not necessary. But I really felt like that anytime you got a deer on the ground and they're still moving, if you can put another arrow in them, you better do it, because I've had deer actually get up and run off on me before and not been able to find them. So I knew she was hurting bad, but I still seen her kicking when I was moving up, so I went ahead and decided to put another arrow in her. These two hunts were both really special to me, just for the simple fact I was able to walk onto a new property and was able to put myself in the right position and was able to actually harvest an animal. Now we got a couple more hunts coming up for you. We got a muzzleloader hunt coming up from one of our pro staff members, Tyson, down in Oklahoma, and we also got a doe harvest coming up from Corey, another one of our pro staffers here in Southwest Missouri. So be keeping an eye out for them. For more product reviews and how-to videos, you can check out our website, ikesoutdoors.com. You can check out the sponsors page on Ike's Outdoors, and you can also check out the sponsors page on our new website, which you'll find all of our hunting videos there, and that is huntwithike.com. We appreciate the support, appreciate you guys watching these videos.